Welcome to this year's Energy Intelligence Forum. I'm joined today by Oliver Klaus, who is the Dubai Bureau Chief here at Energy Intelligence. Thank you for joining us, Oliver. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Excited to, finally have day one of the conference underway.
Absolutely. Just to start off, Oliver, you led this morning's leadership dialogue session. And the Indian oil minister actually covered quite a lot of ground. What stood out for you from the conversation this morning?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you again, Alex. I thought it was a great start to the conference, to be honest. As you say, Minister Pradhan did touch on a wide range of topics during the conversation. So one thing I thought that was really interesting were his comments on India's domestic energy market, and how some sectors are recovering from the deep slump we saw earlier this year as a result of the pandemic, obviously. India was really hit hard by the pandemic. It continues to struggle with the fallout. I think, the minister made that quite clear. But he did say that consumption in the industrial, in the power and transportation sectors, they're basically close to reaching pre-COVID levels. And it's just aviation really that's still lagging behind, pretty much like everywhere else in the world. So I think that was really important as an indicator on how things are going inside the country. And his own view was, things are moving into the right direction. But he was also clear that there remains a lot of uncertainty because it's impossible to predict how the pandemic will play out from here. So, there are question marks, but at least encouraging signs.
Absolutely. And can I ask, what specifically did the minister say about India's ambitions for a green recovery from the coronavirus crisis?
First of all, the minister did highlight that oil and gas will continue to play a really important role in India's economy in areas such as domestic transportation, power generation. On the gas side in particular, he stressed that India is continuing to implement $60 billion worth of investments in the sector. So that covers everything really, from expanding the domestic pipeline network to building more LNG receiving terminals and so on. So that commitment is still there, but there is a big push to add cleaner energy sources in the form of renewables. There's solar and wind, but also cleaner fuels such as biofuels and in the future hydrogen. And then the other thing he talked about in some detail is how India is removing fossil fuel subsidies as a means of decarbonizing the economy. And so they have actually, done quite a lot on this front. More will have to be done, but, he broke that down a little bit for us. So that was very interesting. And then, as a sort of, on a more general note, he said there is also a push really to invest more in related R&D, and providing economic incentives in that space. So we'll just have to see how it all plays out in the coming years.
Absolutely. And did the minister say anything at all about the government divesting from the downstream?
Yeah, so I did ask him about this, specifically about whether the divestment in refiner Bharat Petroleum is still on track. That's a sale that's presently underway. There's been some speculation that interest in the sale has decreased, as a result of the crisis and, slumping demand. But the minister's position was, yes, there have been delays due to the pandemic, but, this is going ahead because, the government's policy is to get out of running business. He said basically, I think he quoted the Modi government mantra, which is, we have no business in running business. So they're moving ahead with the Bharat privatization, and there will be more divestments coming up.
And finally, Oliver, can I just ask what sessions you are especially looking forward to over the next 3 days of the Energy Intelligence Forum, and why?
Sure. I honestly think the entire event looks really strong in terms of topics and in terms of lineup. So I think these will all be good sessions. For me, I'm definitely really interested in the one on OPEC Plus, because it'll be interesting to see the energy minister of the Canadian province of Alberta, Sonia Savage, discussing oil markets with two OPEC ministers. which is Suhail Al-Mazroui, Energy Minister of the UAE, and Timipre Silva, Nigeria's oil minister. That'll be interesting. And then, being based here in the UAE, covering ADNOC, I'll definitely follow the leadership dialogue with ADNOC CEO Sultan Al Jaber on day 2. That's an early morning session, or the first session of the day, rather. I hope we'll hear more about the company's strategy there going forward. And then finally, as always, I'm definitely interested in the session on geopolitics. It'll look at post-COVID and post-US world disorder. I think being in the Middle East, this is of particular interest for us. So, these are probably 3 of the highlights for me.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Oliver, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Great. Thank you very much, Alex.